There we go.
Dave, what's up, dude?
What's happening, man?
Chilling, chilling. Just give me a moment to get set up here. I'm just
Okay.
gonna push this live on Facebook. How's everything with you?
Good, man. Good. Just we've been back in the office for a bit. It's good to be back here.
I've been digging the new ads, slapping the landing
Uh,
page.
Dude, that's the best one. I was
Of
actually writing.
course. Uh,
I've been writing some like ad creative training today, and was just breaking that one down. And I don't know why people like when you slap the landing page.
well, you know what it is. It's if I may. I mean, anytime you're using a prop, um, anything like that. I don't know if you got worked with any ad consultants or agencies, but a lot of folks will tell you that props are. I mean, Billie Jean is the king of like using props. He's a beast.
His whole life is a prop.
Yeah, I know.
And I think like in our world, like there's so few physical things, like outside, I could have just screen shared of landing page, but it's like you just print it off and put it on a board and it's just like, it just makes something physical instead of digital.
Yeah, I feel you. It definitely helps. Just in 1 second, I'm just
Yeah, go
gonna
ahead.
push this live on Facebook. And I'm also just going to apologize ahead of time. We're getting a ton of construction done on our house. There will probably be a dude popping in and out of here. Just he's not coming to kidnap me. Just ignore him.
Cool.
All right, just get the live comments going over here. And perfect. All right. So, Dave, I really do appreciate you joining me. I know you got a lot of stuff going on. Why don't we just start by telling the folks a little bit about yourself and what you do on a daily basis?
Yeah, so I'm Dave Rogenmoser, been an entrepreneur for, I guess maybe 6 or 7 years now. About a little over 3 years ago, launched Proof, which is a company that helps businesses increase conversion rate by we started out by showing these like social proof pop-ups on your site. Jimmy just signed up 2 minutes ago, or 75 people signed up in the last 24 hours. Saw that increased conversion rate a lot and scaled the company from there. And then over the last year, have started to add on more like website personalization and trying to just increase conversions. Really for B2B companies is kind of like where the focus is headed. So co-founder and CEO of Proof, and then as of recently, we're launching like a new program called Atlas that helps B2B SaaS companies, particular, scale through paid ads and building out like a paid traffic funnel, which is a huge part of how we've scaled Proof and has worked really well for us. And so kind of getting back into like the coaching training a little bit more now is like a supplement to the software.
There's a lot of that happening. I think a lot of people see what happened with ClickFunnels. They actually took the coaching consulting and then obviously pushing into the software product. But I see a lot of folks. We actually, my partner and I have a software company that we've been kind of in beta for a while, and I think just adding that element of coaching consulting just drives so much more activation. I don't know if that's why you guys are doing it, if it's a revenue play. I mean, why do you guys Atlas is the name of it, correct?
Uh,
Is
yeah,
that
I mean, grass is kind of always green on the other side too. So it's like, when you're like doing coaching, you're like, oh, this sucks. Like, I just want recurring revenue. And I just want to get into software. And then when you're in software, you're like, man, the margins and like, you can make a lot of money pretty quickly, from some sort of like info product. And, it's like now we've got the software and like recurring revenue. I love it. Like, I can't imagine growing a business without like a solid recurring base. But we've seen that, a lot of companies that we're talking to, they want the traffic side too. Like, we do the conversion rate optimization, and they want to figure out how to get more traffic to their site. We happen to know how to do that really well. And I think B2B SaaS companies in particular have no idea. And they're all like these engineers or like non-marketers. And so like, I've got a special skill set. I can say, well, I'll train you on how to add more traffic. And, as a benefit, you're going to be able to use our tools and do all that to like increase conversion rate. And so it's kind of just solving a little bit more of the problem for our customers and try to add more value there. While also, I think it's going to help us create a little bit more like community, a little bit more, like engagement and like real life, aspect, instead of just being this like cold B2B SaaS company that like nobody knows who we are or anything.
For sure. You're building a moat for sure. So are these video-based trainings or are these live coaching one-on-one? How are you guys structuring that?
It started off as just kind of one-on-one with me, just like a couple companies had approached me and I'd kind of been giving them some tips. I was like, what the heck? Like, let me do, I hadn't really done anything like that in years. Like, what the heck? Let me like dust that off and like teach you like what we're doing and see if it works. And started working with some companies, too, just like helping them get it all set up one-on-one. They were loving it, getting good results. And so I said, well, let's turn this into like, really kind of your classic high ticket coaching, 12 weeks. You're working, so there's some videos, some like one-on-one with me, some group calls, all of that. That's kind of the model that we're testing it out with right now.
And so you're doing most of the coaching consulting yourself.
Yeah. We've got, a couple, other coaches, some other like B2B SaaS or like agencies that have worked with a lot of B2B SaaS to come in and help just give like really tangible stuff that works. But yeah, most of it's kind of me just sharing my expertise and like what we've been doing at Proof.
Got you. And are you planning on scaling that up and hiring that out, or is this kind of just like a testing period out?
Yeah, so I think we just want to see, how good of results can we get people? I know it's worked well for Proof. I know it's worked well for some of these other companies, but I still don't know that we have the exact proven process. And even if we do, who exactly that's for? Like, is that for a certain kind of B2B SaaS company? Is it for companies with certain LTV or certain, we just want to like really nail the product and be like, this thing works. And so we've got about 12 companies we're working like really one-on-one with right now, taking them through that whole thing. And then hopefully we'll see several get great results from there. And we'll say, okay, like that's who we think like the avatar is. Let's scale for that person, get, 50, 60, 100 more people in. And then kind of like look again, okay, like who is this working for? What's working? What do we need to cut? And then kind of like, scaled up from there next year.
And with Proof, I'm actually surprised that you guys are mostly B2B. I would have thought that your main customer base would be ecom.
We're actually not that much in ecom,
Mm-hmm.
though I'm with you. The reason why we're not in ecom is because early on, I mean, Shopify makes it so easy to build apps. And so there's a million proofs like on Shopify. It's like so easy, but that means that there's a ton of competition. It's hard to go and differentiate yourself in there. And so we just kind of said, well, let's just be the off Shopify tool. And like, we're going to like build a little moat around just how hard it is to integrate with other tools, integrate with other websites and all of that. And it works in B2B as well. So I would say like the pop-up itself is like definitely a mix of B2B, B2C. I think as we've kind of moved into personalization, we've kind of just picked, B2B as more of a focus and kind of pushed in there.
And when you guys were, I know you have a co-founder, so I say you guys, when you guys were coming up with the concept of Proof, was this something that you built for yourself out of the need for your own companies, or was this something
Yeah.
that
Yeah. One of the engineers, or one of my I've got two other co-founders, Chris and JP. JP's an engineer, and we were just running traffic to an order form for a membership course. The Entrepreneur Alliance is like $47 a month, 7-day trial. Enter. You got to pay $1 to like start your trial just to like verify the card. And we were just trying different things to like increase the conversion rate on that order form because it wasn't great. And we'd seen like on hotels.com and booking.com, like these little pop-ups. We said, that's super cool. Like, let's grab an app that does that and put it on there. Searched, couldn't find anything that like would really work for that. And so JP just in like 3 or 4 days just built this little widget that popped up on our own site and like ran. It was just like JavaScript injected into like a ClickFunnels page. And we saw the conversion rate go up. I forget the exact numbers. It was a little bit over double the conversion rate by adding that on there. We were like, this is sweet. Like we're going to sell a lot of courses. And then we tried it with a few of our friends. We're just like, hey, like throw this code on your site. Like, we just want to see if this thing works and like, let us know the results. Got like all winners out of like the first like 7 or 10 people we tried it on. And that's, we were kind of like, maybe this is a tool that we could go and sell. And so we launched like a webinar, like pre-sold it. We're like, hey, here's what it is. You can get access to it. It doesn't exist yet, but in a couple months it will. You can like buy early access for like $1,000 for a year. And I had like 80 people join, like pay for a product that doesn't exist, $1,000. And we're like, okay, this is awesome. Like we've got some cash in the bank, we've got some like validation in the market. Like let's kind of pivot hard into software and like see where this thing goes.
So before that, the three you were partners before Proof as well.
Yep.
What were you guys doing before Proof?
And we started as an agency. Wasn't a guy like you and couldn't figure out how to scale it. We needed you back then. And we were just doing, I mean, kind of whatever. We just do. I was at the first business. So just anything anybody needs, you're just like, oh yeah, we do that. We can do
Yeah.
that. So built up agencies like 25 grand a month. Got sick of it. Like let go of every client 1 month. We were just like, we can't do this anymore. And then got into like coaching and training and info products, around how to do marketing, how to like get your first, 10 clients, that kind of stuff. And
Hmm.
I'd say that was kind of like our first successful business.
And then, I mean, so did you ever picture yourself as a software person, or is it something that just kind of
Well,
strictly?
our very first thing was in software. Do you know the foundation, like Dane Maxwell and Andy
Yeah, I
Fish,
do.
guys? Okay, so yeah, like we went through the foundation like very early on, and built these couple little crappy failing SaaS companies. So I think we always like wanted to get back to that, but had like so much growing as entrepreneurs, like to do that. And so we, learned a ton about marketing, learned a ton about growth, and then luckily like we were just serving this market and like saw a need, and then built the software from there. But yeah, like JP is a great engineer. We had him just like hooking up ClickFunnels pages and like Zapier, and it's like, dude, we're totally wasting your talents. Like you know how to build Zapier, not just like use it. Like let's get you back into software and do that. So we always wanted to get back in there, and I think we are just looking for a way to do that.
And I saw that you guys also landed in Y Combinator, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
How was that experience? Out of
It was
curiosity.
great. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, we loved it. For those that don't know, Y Combinator is like a startup accelerator out in Silicon Valley that Dropbox went through, Airbnb, just a ton of great companies, have gone through there. And so, yeah, like when we were starting Proof, we wanted to know how to do it big. And I felt like we were kind of playing this like info marketer world. Like no one's really building like real companies. They're kind of just like, flash in the pan products, like sloppy. We were like, I think there's some value there. Like people in internet marketing like know how to like sell really well, but we were like, how do you build a real company? Like, how do we build a Dropbox? And we didn't really like see anybody around us that was like trying to do that or like cared about doing that. And so we said, well, we got to kind of shift and like get around people that are doing that. And so we applied to Y Combinator, yeah, just to be like, hey, like we want to go big and we want to go like learn what that's like, and ended up getting in. And it's just a cool process. I mean, everyone's like super smart. It's like a totally different world than our world, like agency, info marketer, even what I'd say call like info marketer, like SaaS products. It's like a totally different world, not better, but just different mindset and different thinking. Like maybe much more focus on product and like viral growth and just like some other aspects of growth, not just webinar funnels.
Yeah.
And so that was just really cool. And I think just like learning, what it's like to go and build like $1 billion company, not just, six figures, or more.
Yeah, for sure. I've always felt kind of like, I mean, I don't know if you know my partner, David Krebit. He's more on the
I
technical
know.
developer side. He's the one who is basically the architect and the engineer behind all the technology that we have from like our sheet systems. And then also we basically built like I say he basically built like I'll call it like the Zapier, but for Google BigQuery, right? So for like enterprise organizations that basically drag and drop APIs into BigQuery. And I've always felt like the two of us together have made a good team because he's much more from I would call it like the West Coast vibe, right? I mean, Silicon Valley, and I'm much more that kind of grinded out internet marketer that knows how to
Uh-huh.
sell shit online, right?
Yeah,
And I feel like that's kind of where you've ended up is that you've got a great product. It's beautiful. It works obviously, but then you know how to sell it, right? Which I think is a big distinction between a lot of companies that come out of the gate, even companies that come to our agency that they have something amazing, they've got money, but they never built something they've never taken something from their brain and sold it online, so they don't know how to take that first step. Like they know they need to know they know they need to advertise on Facebook, but they don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't have the
yeah,
strategy, right? So I mean, I feel like would you feel like that internet marketing kind of skill set that you had been honing on for years is why you guys were able to scale so quickly up front?
totally. And like Facebook ads is not going to get you to, $100 million a year company. Although, maybe ClickFunnels would prove me wrong, but it's like, it's a great tool in the tool belt, and especially early on, they can get you started like so fast and so quickly, and be like a great way to scale to 100 grand a month, 200 grand a month. Like you've got to have a great product to kind of get like past there, and you've got to get some like viral growth, and you've got to have some word of mouth marketing kick in, and yeah, but it's a tool in the tool belt, and I think I do kind of feel like we kind of straddle both those worlds. Where like we kind of have a foot in each, and I think there's like stuff to learn from each. And I think, yeah, we've got like some superpowers from like internet marketing, but then at the same time, we're talking about how do we build something that is $100 million a year company and grow it from there.
So how do you feel like, I mean, I agree. I think Facebook ads are definitely the quickest and easiest way to get revenue in the door, especially if you know what you're doing, right? But I mean, what do you guys see as that next step to get from where you are to that 50, $100 million?
Well, I think you've got to have viral growth. You've got to grow as a function of the number of users that you have. And so, your users have to, either tell more users or invite more users, or, again, it could be kind of some built-in stuff like Zapier, like the more connections they have and the more apps they have in their marketplace, the more people come, the more apps there are. Like you've got to find that flywheel, because like when we were first growing with Facebook ads, one, like churn was super high. And that was like a whole different problem. Like you've got to have low churn as well to even think about getting like, some escape velocity. But like we got to a point where we started to plateau because, we had to keep just spending more and more money on Facebook every month, because like our churn was increasing as a percentage, but we had to grow Facebook ad spend linearly to like keep up with that. And so all of a sudden it's like, hey, just to stay flat, I've got to spend 50 grand a month. And then the next month, it's just to stay flat, I've got to spend 70 grand a month. And then just to say, it's like, you can't spend $1 million a month on, B2B SaaS ads. Maybe you
Yeah.
can, but I've never seen that. So it's like, at some point this thing stops and the party stops and you're just like paying to stay alive. But ideally, like, once you have 1,000, customers, some of them tell their friends, they share it at work, they get more people on board. Like now you've got 1,200 just from that cohort alone. Then when you have 1,200, now you've got, 1,440 from that cohort alone. So I think you just have to hit like, you have to have low churn, like hit those like viral effects in order to like really start to scale quickly.
So do you think that the churn from Facebook was just the nature of, and this is a much larger topic than I think even just churn, right? I mean, do you think it was a function of the fact that like you're running very aggressive ads to catch attention, to hook them, to get them on an offer that they ultimately might not care about? They just get into the product and then they leave. I mean, do you think that's a function of Facebook? And then like, how did you guys kind of
Yeah.
overcome?
Yeah. Yeah. It probably is some of just the channel. Like, I don't have the exact numbers right now. I'm sure our Facebook ad customers churn at a higher rate than our non-Facebook ad customers. So it's just kind of the function of the channel. If somebody tells you, hey, you got to try this tool out, it's amazing, I love this, and like you trust them, like you're probably going to stick around a little or get activated a lot more than just my face yelling at you on a Facebook ad. But also, yeah, I mean, back then it's like the product just had a bunch of problems, and we just, it was just things were crappy. It wasn't that well developed, and
Yeah.
so I think, our churn is, I don't know, probably 5 times lower than it was then. And, a lot of that's probably just due to the product being better and actually like solve a little bit, more of a problem than we were at the beginning.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, even I mean, I think that you realize as a marketer that, again, we as marketers at the core of who we are, we always look at marketing first, right? How can we come up with a new offer, a better funnel, etc. In a sense, neglecting the product, right? But I think when you're forced into a space like this, you really, and I've always kind of like, I don't want to say cringe, but kind of as a marketer been like, oh, like product's great, but like you can't, like if you don't know marketing, you can't sell it, kind of like the ego thing, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
now going through this, even with the blueprint, the training company, like the product is everything, man. Like the product
Totally.
is everything. And I think a lot of agencies also kind of get lost in the sauce a little bit, not understanding that ultimately you're only going to go as far as the results that you get for, like, if you suck at marketing, if you're not getting your clients results, if you're not providing them top level customer service, and like you're just not going to grow. Like your best
Mm-hmm.
marketing channel is ultimately your reputation, in so many things, especially in today's internet where people just chatter nonstop. So
Yeah,
uh,
I agree. And even like coming back into like training, building out Atlas, again, we've built out several courses before, but like we're coming back to it. I feel like a whole new mindset. Like this is a product. Like I think about my SaaS product, and like it's got to work, and it's got to be super low churn, and it's got to have some viral effects. Like we haven't even talked about marketing yet, and like how we're going to market it and all that. Like I kind of know in the back of my head like what we're going to do, but like that's not even the focus. Focus is just we got 12 companies. We're going to go super deep with them, get them all great results, and like figure out what does the product need to be. Because I know marketing is going to be easy, but I still see like people just, I see people like posting in Facebook groups are like, hey, I got a funnel and I'm looking for a good 997 to throw on at the back of it. And I'm like what a way to talk about it. Like that's not going to get you like a 997. Like a product is not a price point. It's something that solves a problem for a particular audience. And I see people talking like that, and it's like it's never going to build you a real business. You're just going to like be spinning up one funnel after the next. Like you got to go deep and like really solve the pain really well.
Yeah, it's refreshing to hear that from someone who's, you know, who's been successful in the space, because a lot of people come to the blueprint and, you know, when we've like really invested heavily in our customer team and talking to folks and providing that, not just like a video training, but like we're really putting on that coaching consulting aspect as well. And when we talk to people, they tell us that their number one problem is customer acquisition. But then we look at, you know, and then we break down what they're doing as a service, and it's like you don't have a good, like you don't have a business. Like you're not helping people. You know what I'm saying? And same thing with,
Are they doing agency stuff?
yeah, everyone in the blueprint is pretty much an SEO agency or consultant, or maybe a, you know, another type of agency that wants to tack on SEO. We're basically giving you, I mean, the core of what we offer here is basically like an SEO agency, a box from a service point of view. We teach you customer acquisition, all that stuff, but really what we're teaching you how to do is a service that has been delivered to very, very high performing companies that you can just, you know, learn, rip and offer it for yourself. Yeah. But like, if your service isn't good, if your product isn't good, then like, there's only so much market. Like, a market is just a band-aid that you're putting on top of it. You know, it's just not going to work.
Totally.
And
yeah,
I think,
I never hear agencies talk about churn. It's like in SaaS, it's everything. Like all we talk about is churn. And agencies have the exact same thing, but it's like you're losing people like 4 months in. It's like, who cares what your marketing is? Like, you're never going to go anywhere. Yeah. If you can keep people for 15 months, like, okay, now you've got a business.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. Diving more into the SaaS, you know, world a little bit, you know, I want to talk to you about pricing a little bit too, because I feel like the SaaS world is just obsessed with MRR and churn and those metrics. And what we and my partner have been working on is different pricing strategies. Like with the blueprint, for example, I know it's not SaaS, there's a SaaS element to it, but we used to offer, you know, monthly pricing because we wanted to have an MRR business, but we went to lifetime pricing. And overnight, man, it was just like literally overnight. I mean, revenue, like it's not retention, but like once we had that revenue collected, then 2 years of revenue, we're now able to invest that back into actually getting them activated, actually helping them out. I mean, have you guys, when you initially started, you said that you went to like a pay me $1,000 to get lifetime access. Have you shifted to the MRR model because now you're deep in the SaaS world, and that's the guiding metric that is basically going to get you out of this business too? I mean, have you taught, like, how did you guys stumble on your pricing?
Yeah. So we did a lifetime offer at the beginning. I don't know why. I probably saw Ryan Levesque do it, and I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna do that." You know, it's like, who knows? I wanted a 997. You know, that was it. But yeah, we've shifted fully to like MRR and ARR and recurring, and I love it. You know, I think I love it for a few reasons. I think one, it's a great indicator of how your product is doing. It's like a little bit harder to keep tabs. Like if someone's, you know, because as soon as someone's done, they just churn. You know, it's like they cancel their account, or it's like if someone's just in there for free, like it's just kind of hard to know. So like it just kind of like, and even like early on, I don't like selling annual plans because like it would lower churn, but it'd be like a little bit artificial because if someone like stopped using it 3 months in, I just wouldn't really know, and I'd be feeling good about myself. Then a year in, like this cliff happens, and I'm like, oh crap, we were just living a lie. But I think like, you know, we don't have to restart our business every month. We don't have to, like, we've got employees, we've got a team, and like I don't have to worry about like being able to like support them this month because like I pretty much know exactly how much money we're going to make. And two, it's like I think it's what makes the business more sellable, you know, because like, hey, like these subscriptions are just going to like run on forever. And in SaaS, like even if people don't use the product, they still just pay forever for whatever reason. It's like I can't believe it, but like they'll just pay just because they're paying. And I don't know. I think it like makes it like much more like sellable asset on the back end. So I know like, you know, you sold Did you sell your agency?
Yeah, I did. Hmm.
Did you? I guess you probably had everyone on like recurring stuff, right?
Yeah, at that time I mean, we're still pretty much on 12-month agreements. We're actually moving to a sprint model, more like a dev agency, but
Mm,
haven't really quite rolled that out yet. I mean, for a lot of reasons, really for market positioning, just because the industry is so saturated with agencies and consultants. But anyways, but yeah, I sold it. It was mainly, I mean, we had a really good book of business, really good client list. But mainly the reason for the acquisition was processes. I mean, we had just developed like a very, I mean, that's what the blueprint is. It's just a really
really?
good process to deliver a very
Yeah, yeah.
comprehensive service, you know. Um,
Mhm.
and then the people that we had trained, and we were very good also at leveraging a combination of local and offshore folks, and just not losing any quality of work. So we had really good margins for an agency as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, just go ahead.
On lifetime stuff, I just kind of think people have a hard time valuing it enough. Like it feels to me like you're not going to get enough of and obviously again, you've had your own experience of, blown up, but it's like, I just think you're not going to get enough of a conversion lift from somebody really like factoring in the value of like a lifetime subscription in order to justify like maybe some like the lost potential revenue from it over like, some sort of subscription model there. So I don't know. We love subscription. We're going to kind of make like everything forever in my life some sort of
Yeah,
subscription.
no, I mean, look, there's a lot. I mean, even there's a lot of smart people out there in the SaaS world. Like that. That's the reason, because it's the best business model for SaaS. That's just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
reasons. I think also too. I mean, when you look at, you've already alluded to it a couple times, that viral growth, like getting other people to tell about it. The weirdest thing happens when people pay for something for the lifetime, they barely use it. Like people will pay us
Mm-hmm.
for the blueprint, and then like we have to go and like poke them, be like, hey, you paid for this. Like, are you going to use
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
Like, what's up? It's weird. And if people aren't using your product, this is another huge learning, even just from this training platform, is that like activation is everything, man. Like getting people
Oh,
to
yeah.
actually use and love your product is like the only way that you're going to grow to a certain point. Like it's not enough to just sell. Like when we built kind of like a sales funnel model here at the blueprint, and I tell people all the time, like, look, my job is not done when I sell you. Like this is a sales conversation. I want to get you in, but like my job is just starting when you sign up. That's when we're
Mm-hmm.
investing all of our money, is actually getting you to use this, implement this, ask questions, and put it into action, because that's when you grow, and when you grow, we grow. It's pretty simple.
I think that was a big shift for us. At first, at Proof, all we cared about was our own MRR. Like that's what's on the wall. We got a little thermometer. We get a Tesla. We like leased a Tesla for the company. Like when we hit 50K MRR, like all we cared about was that. And that's why churn's super high. We don't really care about the customer. We weren't really talking about the customer that well. If they've got some like, dumb, it's not a dumb question. If they got some question that we think is dumb, we'd kind of, oh, this guy doesn't know how to install a Pixel, whatever. And it was like, this kind of like gross. I'm kind of embarrassed looking back on it. And I think we finally kind of grew up when like made this shift. We're like, you know what? Like our customers are smart. Like they're good people. They support us. Like they're giving us their hard-earned money. Like, why are we talking about them like this? Like these guys are our heroes. And the metrics we started tracking and celebrating wasn't our own success, it was our customer success. And like the only way we could be successful is if like they got winning split tests, and like that was our goal, was like number of winning split tests and like activated customers and like all of that. And it's like a huge shift in a company when it's not about your success, it's about your customer success. And like as your customer success will dictate your own success.
Yeah, and I mean, to your credit, I mean, it's, you hear it talked about all the time. You listen to Dan Martin, you listen to a lot of smart people who are telling you that like the customer comes first, but like, and you're like, yeah, that's great. But like, until you actually go through it and get to that point and go through it, you don't fully realize it. Like you have to go through
Yeah,
that point where you only care about money. Because if you don't care about it, then you never get to the point where you care about your customer. Like in my opinion,
totally.
I think unless you've been through, like if Dan Martell was starting another software company, for sure it's gonna be customer centric. But like you kind of got to get to that point to learn it yourself in order to fully understand that. Because if you don't, then you're like, yeah, the customer comes first. But like until you fully understand that,
Yeah.
it's not some, it's, you can tell people till you're blue in the face, but until they go through it and experience it, then there's just no way for them to contextually really understand that, you know?
That's probably true. Yeah, for us, it was when we kind of plateaued. We've got like 22% churn or something like that, like monthly churn. And we're just like churning through people. And we're like, again, we couldn't go any harder. Like we
Yeah.
think we're great marketers. We're willing to spend as much as we need on Facebook or like metrics. Like we just like couldn't spend any more. We're like, okay, cool. We've got to have like a fundamental shift in our company, like how we think about like customers and churn and all of that. Otherwise we're just dead in the water.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so I think you're right. I think you do have to kind of like hit that point where, you can't go any further on your own and you've got to like have your customers carry you there.
For sure. I mean, the other thing that I wanted to piggyback off, because I've seen you, I mean, I saw you talking to Dan Martell. I've seen you, uh, like Y Combinator is one, but I've seen you in a lot of like kind of coaching consulting kind of circles, like different Facebook groups. I mean, is that something that you've invested quite a bit in your career, different coaches, different consultants? And like, how is that? Do you think that's impacted you positively and driven you in the right direction?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah, I've probably got, well, here's my little strategy, but this is kind of side note. So I do love, kind of investing in getting coaches. I also love being great case studies and testimonials for them. So I'm like the first guy that's like, hey, can I film you like a ball and testimonial video? And then they like promote it to a ton of people. And then I just get like a ton of like recognition from that. So it's like I make them look good. I get some publicity out of it. But I just think, too, it's like if you're a student, listen to this and you've got some coach or you're in the blueprint or whatever, like make a great testimonial video. And like it's so valuable to them, but also like I get way more value out of Sam Ovens. He's been promoting me to
Yeah, I've seen that.
500 million people for the last 4 years. And I've got like 1,000, Facebook Messenger requests from people saying, hey, you're in Sam's course, yada, yada. So I don't know. So that's kind of like a little side note. But I do like investing in those programs and yeah, just trying to like learn from people smarter than me and like
Yeah.
continuing to level up there.
Well, first of all, for anyone watching this in the Blueprint, y'all are more than welcome to do testimonial videos for those out there. And
I'm a
also
good
just
one.
for myself too, you know, I think it's always been an ego thing kind of holding in my way, but like over the last year and a half, like I've been investing heavily in coaches and consultants. You know what I'm saying? Like I right now have somebody who's literally sitting over my shoulder like a parrot, like for YouTube ads. You know what I mean? Like literally 4 to 5 times a week, I'm paying them to like review. Like it's just so much faster to learn something. You know, I think
Who do you pay?
this guy's named Jan. I've been kind of doing stuff. If you're interested, I'll make an intro. I mean, YouTube ads is just a whole nother animal when
Mm-hmm.
it comes
Yeah,
to,
but I've been doing more like YouTube ads for the last like month and a half. So
yeah.
yeah, good for me.
How have they been working out for you?
Good, not as good as Facebook ads,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, good. I've got a couple like good audiences that are working and do some retargeting there, and yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's just the CPAs on YouTube right now are still pretty heavy. I told you people are going to be coming in and out.
No worries.
They're still pretty heavy, and it's just to me the most difficult part has been like understanding that you can't run the same assets that you're running on Facebook on YouTube. Like there has to be a distinctly different strategy and cadence.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also just not as much information out there about YouTube ads as there is as Facebook ads. You know, it was really hard for me to find this guy. I've been working with him for a while, but and again, YouTube is also that place where it's really easy to come off as like that internet marketer,
Yeah,
like you
totally,
want to make more money from sitting at home, like I got you. So
totally.
it's a distinctly different product. But I mean, point is, no matter what it is, I'm just at the point in my career where like I don't have time to learn stuff, and there's only certain stuff that like I should be learning. And
Mm-hmm.
for that type of stuff, like when you hit a peak and a plateau and a pinnacle, like don't have an ego about it. Like just pay someone who knows what they're doing. It's gonna that is a
Totally.
small investment that's gonna save you so much time in the long run.
Especially when like with something like that where the upside is so big. Like let's say you like really crack YouTube, you can start to really scale it. Like it could make you $10 million. And like the downside, like let's say like it sucks and like you never figure it out. And like you spend whatever you're paying this guy plus 5 or 10 grand, like, filling ads. It's like, okay, like you lose like a little bit of money, but it's like make 10 million or like lose 20,000, let's say. It's just like totally disparate. It's like, why would you not just pay like the best person you can find
Yeah,
to go and do that?
yeah, absolutely. I also want to just unpack a little bit too because I know you're also very lethal with ads, and I haven't quite started pushing to for our software company yet. Where, like I said, we're still just like migrating some customers over. What I mean, like, what kind of strategies have you been using there in terms of like because your price point is, although you guys aren't the cheapest month over month, I checked you guys out, but I mean, because you're at a much lower price point, I mean, I'm used to selling more high ticket stuff. You sold high ticket coaching in the past. You're selling $1,000 stuff. Are you running the same type of strategies, but just trying to arbitrage for just cheaper clicks? Um,
Well, yeah. I mean, we're probably the most expensive in the market, to be honest, but that's for a reason. And here's what a lot of like SaaS people get wrong, or maybe just a lot of people in general get wrong. Like you've got to have a distribution model that works for your product, and your price point has to support the distribution model. And so like there's probably, I don't know, 200 proof clones out there, and a lot of them are super cheap. Like that's their thing. Like it's like they're kind of like proof, but like 1,000 times cheaper. And a lot of them are free and all that, but like none of them ever go anywhere. And that's probably for a lot of reasons. But one of the reasons I think is like they don't have a distribution model that's supported by their price point. And so there's nothing for them to go do. They can't buy ads anywhere. Their product's not good enough to go viral. There's not, it's just a clone of ours. And so there's really nothing, there's no way for them to get any traction there. And so, you know, what I've been telling people in Atlas, it's like your price point has to support like a paid ad strategy. And in that case, you probably need to raise your prices and go up market. And it's okay to be like the most expensive in the market. It's okay to like be very premiumly priced. Like, yeah, you're going to turn some people off, but also a lot of people like don't even care and just want to use the best. So that'd be kind of like one piece of advice is like have high prices, ideally lifetime value over $1,000. You know, the higher the better. If you can get like $3,000 or $4,000 lifetime value, then you know you're in really, really good shape. But if you're at like, you know, $200 lifetime value, like it's gonna be pretty hard to make any sort of scale work on ads. You're able to do some like retargeting stuff. So I think like one, like have a high price point. You know, secondly, you know, really what we do is we're just driving people to free trials. The free trial kind of is the funnel, you know, like the like inside the product is the funnel. And so like we do like some lead magnet stuff. We do, you know, webinars and all that stuff. A lot of times we're just driving people to a page. It's like, hey, like get our free trial. Like it's just free. Like it's not a huge ask. I'm not asking you to buy it right up front. Like test it out for 14 days. And like, if you get results, pay me. If you don't, cancel. And so that's kind of like a lot of what we're doing is actually just driving ads, kind of landing pages, doing free trials. And that's been working out. But I do see people, like Alex Becker, you know him?
Yeah, of course.
You know, he's like doing, you know, more of just, he's basically just doing like high ticket sales model for SaaS. And like, that's working really well. I'm kind of curious about what his churn will look like, you know, a year from now, like when like all these people, like, you know, it all hits, but maybe it'll be great. I don't know.
I can add some insight on that actually. I don't know their churn rate, but so we've been looking very, very, very heavily for an attribution modeling. It blows my mind just how poor it is for ads, especially when we're talking about cross platforms. Like we're running Twitter traffic, pushing YouTube now. Like I need that visibility at the campaign level to understand, especially too, because we're high ticket and in the information space, there's just so much bullshit that like I feel the need to run extra value, blog post videos, like no opt-in, like just read this and understand that I'm not full of shit, right? So it's really important that I understand how that's performing and attributing to ultimately like opt-ins and sales, but it hasn't been able to, like there's just nothing out there, and it's just getting harder and harder with data privacy, etc. But Hyros is supposedly solves that actually. So I've obviously been seeing his ads everywhere, and I went through their. I'm actually thinking about getting it. I went through their sales call. It looks pretty solid, but basically they do a 6-month payment up front. This is actually why I was kind of like I think on my mind asking about the payment up front, and I think he has to do it though, because he's running so much traffic in garbage places. Like we're talking about like internet marketers, YouTube channels, talking about how to make money. Like, you know, so like he's capturing those people who are just kicking the tires so hard that the churn would just be ridiculous, I'm sure, if it wasn't like paid up front for 6 months. It's not too expensive. I don't know if I can say it. I'll just tell you it's basically like $500 a month over 6 months. But I mean, if you're running a lot of traffic, it's not too bad at all.
I'll probably get it for like, we're going to like build out like Atlas marketing, you know, probably like next month or in December. And I'll probably get it for that. But yeah, like, you know, he's a guy, he's built, like he prices it to support a heavy paid ads channel, you know, so he can do that. And you know, that's just my encouragement to like SaaS, like, if you've got to add some sort of onboarding fee or like pay up front or whatever, like just like make your pricing support the channel. And in ads, like you've got to charge, you know, up front or have enough cash in the bank to like go into the trough a little bit for a few months and kind of do that. So yeah, so he's a guy that I think has done that well. And he's kind of built a product, you know, for an ads platform.
Nice. Yeah. I think.
How do you guys charge?
How much do we charge?
Or how do you charge for that, for the software tool? Like just like, how do you think about charging?
So for the software, this is, I mean, pricing, I mean, you already know, like pricing is a key pivotal thing that is never, I don't think it's ever fully like until you're probably where you're at a couple years in the market until it's fully dialed in. We it's challenging because we're eating the cost of API. So basically what we're not doing, we're not being like a Zapier where it's like, hey, like just drag and drop APIs. What we're doing is we're building what we call like recipes, right? So like an SEO audit, like automated keyword research, monthly report, like we're building these pre-done recipes. So like
Mm-hmm.
a similar competitor might be something like agency analytics type vibe, where like
Mm-hmm.
you can go with that. Like there's other platforms out there that do it, not in BigQuery. Um, but basically we're charging per run per recipe for like $50 per recipe. So like an SEO
Mm-hmm.
audit, every time you want to get it refreshed, daily, monthly, whatever, it's going to be $50, scaling up and down depending on the size of your website. So, I mean, we're like, we already know, dude. Like, we tried. I had a WordPress plugin actually recently. I sold it like 6 months ago, and it was like bottom market $9 a month. And I was like, I'm never doing this shit again. Like, if I'm getting into
Yeah,
anything,
yeah.
it's because of that. I was like, how do I sell? Like, how do I advertise for this? Like, nine
Can't
bucks
do
a month.
anything. You're
You
just
can't do
kind of
anything,
sitting
bro.
there. You're just sitting there thinking, I can't even like afford to like write a blog post about this because it's not gonna.
Yeah,
Totally. Yeah.
exactly.
More and more people I've been talking to, like once you start moving up market, like you just don't really go back down because
No,
it's just
you can't.
freeing. Like you get there and you're just like, I've just got a lot of options for growth. You know, at least you have the options. And not that they're gonna work, you're gonna totally nail it, but like at least you have the options. But yeah, if you're just at like $5 a month, it's like, what do you even do?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I've heard Suja Patel talk about it because I know Mailshake like used to be back in the day like super cheap. I don't know if they've changed. I haven't really stayed in touch, but I mean, everyone. It's the same thing in the agency world. Like people come in starting to do $500 a month, and the first thing I tell Blue members, I'm like, you're not charging anything less than $3,000 a month if you sign up here. Like, I'm not going to
Yes.
let you because it just doesn't make sense. Like, you can't build a
You
team.
can't build a business. You can't do any marketing.
It's the same thing in everything. So yes, with our software company, I mean, we're going. I mean, BigQuery is an enter. Like for you to know what BigQuery is, like you've got to be part of a pretty big organization as is. So we're
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like really just going after that market first, and then I'm letting David handle that because that's what he does. Like we've got basically. So what we're doing now too is his basically consulting company. We're basically building what are called like custom pipelines. Like we're working with a lot of software companies actually, basically like building churn models, just stuff that is not out of box for a lot of software. Also, like stuff that you
Mm,
just don't have the time or want to set up unless you go out and hire like an analytics specialist.
yeah.
So we're basically we're hand holding with that, and that's been going really well. We're charging basically like $5,000 per pipeline, which
Hmm.
is solid, and most people are signing up or $5,000 per sprint. And we're doing like 4 to 6 sprints for most companies.
That's
Um,
cool.
Software and ecom have
Yeah.
been our best companies by far because especially companies now like Shopify companies that are just like Shopify sucks. Like I
Mm,
don't
yeah,
have
yeah,
any
yeah.
full data here. So and then off the back end of that, then we're building basically being just kind of more of like a self-service software tool if they want to do it for themselves. But 100% up market, dude. Like we're not even entertaining any the thought of anything less. Mainly because we can't too. It's like almost going the opposite way. Like we can't hire the right people if we're not charging that much. Like we need really smart people to be doing this work. And like, we can't, like, I'm not going to dump like 1,000 clients on these people just to get one thing done. It's just not going to happen. So
Totally. Yeah, totally. I just don't think people understand that. Like I've been talking with another guy who's gone like way up market, and here's kind of an interesting thought, especially for like marketers that are listening. Like if you want to get into SaaS, like software is becoming more and more commoditized, where especially as these like no code tools come out, like in 15 years, your mom will just be sitting in the kitchen building the SaaS product to like help her like get the whatever done around the house. Not that moms are the only ones that do stuff around the house, but it's like it just be everyone will be doing that. And so I think what that does is it leaves a much bigger gap around distribution, and figuring out how to go to market is actually a lot harder than building the little SaaS tool. And so I've been talking with this guy is like, as marketers, should we just be white labeling or consuming other APIs, maybe kind of like what you're doing, like build on top of what's already there that all these like nerds in Silicon Valley have done, and all we're doing is just taking it to market. Like we're just kind of putting a front end on some really hard tech in the back end and like going hard to market at a high price point. I think you could probably like spin up a $3 million company a year, or $3 million a year company every like 2 years doing a model
yeah.
like that, where you just like sit on top of what's already there, like clean it up a little bit, go to market with it, charge $1,000 a month, and then, sell the company every 2 years for 10, 20, $30 million.
Yeah, it's refreshing to hear you say that because I think a lot of people try to recreate the wheel and do something brand new. But I agree. Like basically, I mean, everything that we've done to everything that we've built has been 100% out of need. Like we're very adamant to that. Like we're building stuff for us. testing it out, making sure it works, making it like, how does this fit into our business processes? Like what type of value does this really drive, and then pushing it out. And we got started by just, I keep saying we because he's my partner, but he got started just building stuff in Google Sheets. Like Sheets is an open source platform that like everything we do as marketers ends up in some sort of spreadsheet anyways. Like, why are we trying to read? Like, we don't want to compete with Ahrefs. We don't want to compete with Semrush. Like, fuck that. But they have really good data that they make readily available for everyone. Like, let's just take that and combine it with Moz data, combine it with Screaming Frog data, and like, let's build something that nobody else can build, because these companies aren't going to do it. They're not. The Semrush.
Okay, so you use their APIs and you like aggregate it.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, they could never do it because why would they? Like they don't want the other ones to exist. It's like you're just a layer. You're like a helpful UI layer on top of those.
Exactly.
And you could go make more money than the people who built it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like, yeah, I love that. And I just think like there's so many more opportunities, especially with like every company has an API now, and like everyone's looking for go to market.
Yeah.
And I really just think the future is probably much more around distribution than it is around product. I think it used to be far more around product. I think that is like shifting towards who can actually, there's a million proofs. Like building a proof is not hard. Like there's 100 of them, but it's like, who can go to market with it? Like one, maybe two. I've kind of figured out how to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's definitely refreshing hearing you saying that. I mean, it's again, my focus is mainly on our agency. So I sold my agency. I actually bought the rights back like 8 months ago for a whole bunch of reasons. But my focus is mainly on, have like an operations guy who's amazing who runs the agency. But my focus is mainly on the blueprint, just because I would much rather work with somebody like yourself who's like been through everything that I have. I know exactly what you're feeling, and also at the core of it, I know how to solve your problems. That's really what it comes down to. It's like I built and sold $1 million agency in a year, and I know exactly what you're going through, and I know exactly how to tell you how to fix it. And that in itself has a lot of value. Plus the margins on top of that, and just what a company like this and what Atlas can do for just kind of like your personal career and growth too. Just being able to get your like Dan Martell, you know what I'm saying? Like he has a really good coaching consulting program that is high ticket, which allows him to invest more in ads and content and distribute that more and more and continue to grow his everything, it's just an amazing business. And that's why I saw you posting on your personal Facebook about Atlas a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I was definitely intrigued. I think it's smart, man. I really do.
So you have the training program, teach people how to like run an agency.
Mm-hmm.
You also now have your agency back.
Correct.
And then your softwares for agencies.
Agencies was the original play. Basically, we were trying to like vertically align everything, right? Like we'll train you on SEO, we'll do your SEO, or we'll automate your SEO, right?
Yep.
But it's quickly, and David and I, my partner, are partners in everything. But he's just quickly kind of pivoted and realized that agencies
market
a little bit different. Yeah, exactly. Like he's just getting much more spend, and like, again, because it's not recurring, we're working on the sprint model where basically they have to be like, I love this, let's do another one. Or like, can you add this? Can you add this? Like e-commerce and SaaS just are a little bit more dialed into that type of data and analysis. Like all the conversations that we've had, agencies aren't having these conversations. Like agencies aren't talking about churn, to your point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just a different thing. With agencies, what we've done is we're not positioned to be like, hey, we're going to help you do detailed analysis. It's, hey, we're going to automate your client portfolio. So again, like you run a monthly report, we'll run it for all your clients. Here's an SEO audit, we'll run it for all your clients. You basically control it from one spreadsheet. You just set the pace that you want it to run, and it will run for you. Nice. But again, especially with COVID now, like agencies have been hit really hard. They're not trying to invest, $500 a month in reporting and data analysis. So, but software companies and Shopify stores have gone through the freaking roof. So he's just like really hitting his stride, doing some consulting with those.
Nice. Yeah, because that's what I've been thinking about too. Is just like aligning all the products around a certain avatar, and like, our ads for proof work, but if I can add on, if I can add Atlas people on the back end of that, and then like I'm just stacking it where it's like, yeah, these ads already worked. Now they really work. And now I could actually go from, spending 30 grand a month to 100 grand a month and probably not even feel it. It's like, that's how I think you grow. And like, yeah, maybe you can't figure out a way to like increase your I'd say if anyone has a $9 a month plan, just like move it to 79 right now and probably nothing will happen. But you'll make a lot more money. But I think like, even if you can't figure out how to like do that, like you can add on other things that are very aligned with that market, that help boost that and like make your ads work super well.
Yeah, it's are you familiar with Jay Abraham?
Yeah.
It's very much so the Jay Abraham. I mean, I listen to his podcast all the time. The guys at Traffic and Funnels are also like, I listen to their podcast a lot. They've got a lot of really good content about these types of things. Um, but basically, it's all about that. Basically, how do you squeeze more out of what you already have instead of going to the drawing board and trying to recreate something new? Exactly what you're doing. Like, you have customers who love you, who trust you, and they're willing
Mm-hmm.
to pay you a shitload more money, and they want to too. Like, you know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like, they're happy
Yeah.
to do so, and you can help them.
Yeah.
So why
And yeah,
not?
so like it's like now like I'm running a software company, and so I'm like in the weeds. I get it. Like I'm not, because I felt that too. Like maybe you kind of did, but like when we kind of got rid of our like agency or fired everybody, and then we were like teaching people how to like run a little agency. Like I just started getting like a little rusty over time. Like I wasn't feeling the pain point. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't in it, and I had to keep kind of referring back to, oh, a year ago that's what I did, and 2 years ago that's what I did. And it's like now like again like I got to run off this meeting because I got to go do SaaS CEO stuff,
Yeah.
But then I'm also selling proof software to SaaS people, and then I'm selling them Atlas, and I'm selling Atlas people proof software, and it's all just like works together and feels super aligned, which is a really fun place to be.
Yeah, yeah, that was actually one of the 50% of the driver for why I wanted the rights back to my agency, because what I was doing at that other agency, we got up to 35, 40 people, and it was all about HR stuff, and the blueprint is more for like I would call it more for the consultant looking to scale to the agency level. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I was out of touch with what they were doing, and I was like, I need this back. I need to get back into into doing
Yeah.
stuff that's going to ultimately feed this company, because I don't want to do more work than I have to. Like, it was exhausting. Like, I'm already fucking exhausted we're trying to do this. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, just like focusing on one core thing, one core offer, and then it's like, how do we just position this and package it differently to hit different markets?
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly where we've been at for 2020, and really trying to hit our stride for. Actually, my partner just hit me and said that the software is called Query.recipes. Query Recipes. He said
Oh,
that it's
nice.
ready to launch next week, which is like amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Hey, that means 3 weeks from now, but great to know.
It was supposed to be last August, so we're talking to over a year ago.
Okay. Okay. So it might be next week then.
But in all fairness, that's also why, because he had his consultancy. It's called Codings for Losers. Don't take it personal, but it's basically just like saying there's a better way to do it. Like, you don't have to build an app. Like, let me build it in Sheets, right? And we kind of looked at it and being like, this is expensive to build the software. And like, we have the people, we have the team. Like, why don't we just offer consulting and like just build it for people and charge a lot of money? And that's literally funded
Mm-hmm.
between the blueprint. That's funded 100% of the software.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also allowed us to do the consulting with folks and then push them onto the software to test it out. Like data, he's big about data quality. So like, he had to iron out a bunch. I mean, you already know what it is. Um, and I'm super glad. I keep telling him too. I'm like, I don't want to rush this launch. Like, we're making money off this. Like, we're profitable. Like, we don't have any issues with it right now. Like, I want this to be. And I'm actually curious on this. And this is kind of my last question for you. I know we got like just down a rabbit hole conversationally, but I mean, what like the concept of like an MVP and like just getting something to market and like don't worry about perfection. I have mixed feelings about it. I understand where they're coming from, but I also feel like you don't get a second chance with people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you put something out that sucks, like, it's really hard to get them to come back. I mean, where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I've seen people do it both ways. I mean, I think in general, you're probably better off getting something like I think people sometimes confuse MVP with like this thing sucks. Like it doesn't. I mean, it should be like probably like a little bit embarrassing, but I think like it doesn't suck. It just does one tiny thing well. You know what I mean? Like it's like it just doesn't do much, but it does like this one report well. And it's like, yeah, like it hopefully will be more. Like you probably don't want to pay a ton of money for it yet, but I think like where I've found us, even with like our personalization platform, as we've gotten bigger and bigger as a company, we've slowed down and like how fast we iterate. We've slowed down and going to market. Like with Proof version 1, it was like a product in a few days, in people's hands in like 7 days, like launched like in 3 weeks. And I think we've gotten a little bit slower, and so like we end up like kind of creating what we think the problem is, but we found out later like it really wasn't how our customers were thinking too. And so I just think in general it's pretty risky unless like you really really know the problem to kind of be building in a vacuum and not really getting it in customers' hands quickly.
Yeah.
However, I think if you are building it for yourself primarily, like you kind of get a little bit of like a cheat, a little bit of like a pass there because you're like, hey, like, I really genuinely want this here myself. But yeah, in general, I think, I think as long as you position it well and like you let people know, hey, it's a little buggy. Hey, we're in beta. hey, this is early access. I really shouldn't be doing this yet, but we want to get some people in there. Like people are pretty forgiving, I found,
Yeah,
and like are like, hey, like they want to help us find all the bugs, and they think it's
for
kind of
sure.
fun to like turn that stuff into us.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good point. I mean, especially with our network now, I'm sure there's a shitload of people that would be happy to dive in and poke some holes and take a look at it. But
Oh yeah.
anyways, man, I'll let you go. I know you're a busy, dude. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on,
Yeah,
Dave.
man. Yeah, good to chat. I don't know if we've ever actually had like a full conversation here.
Yeah,
So great.
I don't think so either. Facebook Messenger here and there, but
Uh-huh.
hopefully when the events and stuff come back, you know, we can actually meet in person and whatnot.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Where do you live, by the way?
I'm in Miami, Florida.
Okay, nice. I'm in
My
Austin.
brother lives in Austin though, so I'm actually there all the time. And actually, my partner David's in Austin too, so I'm there like
Oh, nice.
normally I'm
Yeah,
there.
sweet, man. Yeah, dude. Hit us up when you're in here. That'd be great.
Definitely I will. Tell the people where they can find you.
Useproof.com. That's
Awesome.
where we're at. And yeah, follow me on Facebook too, maybe. That's where I'm going to be posting some stuff about Atlas here. If you are B2B SaaS and want to work with me to grow the paid traffic side of things, hit me up.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. I really appreciate it, man. We'll talk
All
soon.
right. Sounds good, Ryan. See ya.
Take care, brother.